They took him from my side because he was weak. They said love doesn't matter when kingdoms are at stake. So they locked me away, dressed me in white, promised me to another man. What they didn't understand was that powerless men learn patience, and patience turns into power. On the day the bells rang for my wedding, the man I loved returned as a king, with an army at his back, and my name still on his lips. This was never a love story meant to end quietly. Chapter 1: The Beautiful Omega of Valinor. The bells of the Royal Academy rang softly through the marble corridors, signaling the start of another day beneath Valinor's golden banners. Sunlight spilled through tall arched windows, illuminating polished floors and walls, etched with the history of a kingdom that had never known weakness. Prince Elien of Valinor walked to those halls as though he belonged to the light itself. Even at a young age, people noticed him. Courtiers whispered when he passed. Tutors paused mid-sentence. Other students, especially the alphas, stole glances they tried poorly to hide. Elien's beauty was not loud or sharp. It was gentle, almost unreal. Pale hair that caught the sun, eyes calm and thoughtful, movements graceful without effort. An Omega born to a powerful throne, precious and protected. Yet Elien himself rarely noticed. He cared more about books than mirrors, more about quiet corners of the library than court gossip. He smiled easily, spoke kindly, and treated everyone as if rank were nothing more than a word. It was this kindness that first drew Raiden of Aetherin to him. Raiden arrived at the academy as part of an old agreement. Aetherin, smaller and weaker than Valinor, sent its royal heir to study under Valinor's protection. The arrangement was political, not friendly, and Raiden felt its weight every day. His uniform was plainer, his escorts fewer, his name spoken with polite indifference. He was already tall for his age, broad-shouldered, with sharp eyes that missed very little. But strength meant nothing when your kingdom stood in another's shadow. On his first day, Raiden stood alone in the courtyard, pretending not to notice the curious looks cast his way. He had learned early that pride was the only thing no one could take from him. "Are you lost?" The voice was soft, curious rather than mocking. Raiden turned, and for a moment forgot how to speak. Elien stood before him, sunlight framing his figure, hands folded loosely in front of him. There was no calculation in his gaze, no judgment, only genuine interest. "I'm not," Raiden replied stiffly. "I'm Raiden, from Aetherin." "I know," Elien said with a small smile. "I'm Elien." As if Raiden could not tell. Instead of offering the distant courtesy expected of a Valinorian prince, Elien stepped closer. "You're meant to attend Master Halvarin's lecture next. I can show you the way." Raiden hesitated. No one had offered him anything without obligation before. "You don't have to." "I want to," Elien said simply. That was how it began. They studied together beneath towering shelves, trained side by side in the courtyards, shared quiet meals away from watchful eyes. Elien never spoke down to Raiden, never treated him as lesser because Aetherin was weaker. When others dismissed Raiden, Elien listened. When they praised Elien's beauty, he changed the subject. Raiden noticed everything. He noticed how Elien laughed when he forgot himself, how he frowned slightly when concentrating, how his presence seemed to soften even the coldest rooms. And slowly, unknowingly, Raiden began to place himself between Elien and the world, just a step closer, just a little more alert. At night, when Raiden lay awake in his assigned chambers, he told himself it was nothing. Elien was kind to everyone. Elien was Valinor's jewel, untouchable, destined for a future far beyond a prince of a weak kingdom. Still, when he thought of Elien's smile, his chest felt tight in a way he did not yet understand. And Elien, watching Raiden train until dusk, admiring the quiet strength in his focus, felt something warm and strange bloom in his heart, something he had no name for yet. Neither of them knew that kingdoms would rise and fall between them. Only that, for now, in the safety of Valinor's walls, a bond had begun, fragile, innocent, and already dangerous. Chapter 2: Friendship Across Unequal Crowns. The difference between their kingdoms followed them everywhere, even when no one spoke of it. In the Academy's grand training yard, banners of Valinor fluttered proudly above the stone walls, while the emblem of Atherin appeared smaller, placed respectfully to the side. Raiden noticed such things. He always had. Power announced itself in quiet ways. Aeon, however, seemed blind to it. When lessons ended, Aeon sat beside Raiden on the low steps of the fountain, sharing ink-stained notes without hesitation. He argued with tutors on Raiden's behalf, laughed at his dry remarks, and pulled him into conversations as though their positions were identical. "You think too much," Aeon said one afternoon, watching Raiden hesitate before speaking during a strategy discussion. Raiden glanced at him. "You don't think enough about how others see you." Aeon tilted his head, pale hair slipping loose from its ribbon. "Why should I?" Raiden didn't answer. "Because you're precious," he thought. "Because the world watches you like something to be owned." The imbalance was clearest during formal events. At gatherings hosted by Valinor's court, Aeon moved effortlessly among nobles, greeted with bows and reverence. Alphas, young, polished heirs of powerful houses, lingered near him too long, voices softened, gazes bold. Raiden stayed back. He stood near pillars, arms crossed, jaw tight as he watched one alpha after another offer Aeon wine. Compliments, laughter that lingered just a heartbeat too long. Aeon never encouraged them. He was polite, distant, graceful as ever, but they kept coming. "They're exhausting," Aeon muttered when he finally escaped, joining Raiden by the balcony overlooking the gardens. "You could refuse them," Raiden said. Aeon smiled faintly. "That would be rude." Raiden looked at him then, really looked. At the way moonlight traced Aeon's features, at the calm in his eyes, at how unaware he seemed of the effect he had. "They want something from you," Raiden said quietly. Aeon followed his gaze back to the room full of admirers. "Everyone wants something," he replied. "That doesn't mean they get it." The words settled deep in Raiden's chest. "None of them have the right," he thought fiercely. "Not one of them understands you." He didn't know when his protectiveness had turned into attachment, or when attachment had begun to ache. He only knew that when Aeon leaned closer, when their shoulders brushed, something in him tightened instinctively. At night, Raiden found himself listening for Aeon's footsteps in the corridor. During lessons, he watched Aeon instead of the board. He trained harder, longer, as though strength itself could bridge the distance between their crowns. Aeon noticed the change. "You've been quiet," Aeon said one evening as they walked back from the library. "Did I do something?" Raiden stopped. "No." "Then what is it?" Raiden searched for words he did not yet have. How could he explain that Aeon's kindness felt like a gift he hadn't earned? That every smile made him want more, and fear it all the same? "You don't see the way they look at you," Raiden said at last. Aeon smiled softly. "I see how you look at me." Raiden's breath caught. Aeon didn't tease him. He didn't press. He only reached out, briefly touching Raiden's sleeve, a small, grounding gesture. "You're my friend," Aeon said. "Not a subject, not a guest, just Raiden." That night, lying awake beneath unfamiliar stars, Raiden stared at the ceiling and made a silent vow. One day, no matter how long it took, he would stand where no one could look down on him again. And when that day came, no one would dare reach for Aeon as if he were theirs to take. Chapter 3: Alpha and Omega Revealed. The change did not come all at once. It arrived in quiet moments, an unfamiliar heat beneath the skin, a sharp awareness of space and scent, instincts whispering where reason once ruled. At the academy, such awakenings were expected, but that did not make them easier. Raiden was the first to present. It happened during training, steel clashing under the open sky. The moment his control snapped was sudden and violent, strength surging through his limbs, senses sharpening until the world narrowed to sound, movement, threat. The instructors froze as alpha pheromones flooded the yard, raw and undeniable. A dominant alpha. The murmurs spread quickly. Raiden was escorted away, blood pounding in his ears, pride and unease twisting together. From that day forward, others watched him differently, more cautiously, more respectfully. The prince of a weak kingdom was no longer so easy to dismiss. Elian watched from the edge of the courtyard, heart racing, not with fear, but something far more dangerous. When Elian presented weeks later, it was quieter. A faint tremor in his hands, a sudden sensitivity to sound and scent. The healers confirmed what the court already suspected. An omega. The academy shifted around him overnight. Gods doubled. Schedules changed. Politeness sharpened into something almost possessive. Alphas lowered their voices when he passed, eyes lingering with new intensity. Elian felt smaller beneath it all. Raiden felt like the world was closing in. The first time he scented Elian's omega pheromones, soft and warm like blooming flowers after rain, his vision blurred for half a second. He turned away immediately, fists clenched so tight his palms stung. Control, he told himself. You have to control this. Elian noticed his distance. You've been avoiding me, Elian said one afternoon, meeting Raiden in the library's shadowed alcove. Raiden stiffened. You shouldn't be alone with an alpha. Elian frowned. Yo. That was the problem. Elian's realization came gently, like the settling of a truth he could no longer ignore. The way his gaze followed Raiden without effort. The comfort he felt standing close. The disappointment when Raiden stepped away. He loved him. The word terrified him in its simplicity. Raiden, meanwhile, battled a storm he refused to name. Every time another alpha stood too close to Elian, something dark coiled in his chest. He watched hands linger too long, heard voices soften falsely, and had to force himself not to intervene. They don't deserve to look at you, his instinct snarled. You're not theirs. At night, Raiden trained until exhaustion dulled his senses. He avoided Elian's scent. He avoided his eyes. Elian watched, hurt blooming quietly. One evening, as twilight painted the academy in gold, Elian finally spoke. Did I do something wrong? Raiden turned sharply. No. Then why does it feel like you're leaving me behind? The question struck deeper than any blade. Raiden's voice was low, strained. Because if I stay too close, I won't be able to stop myself. Elian stepped closer anyway. His scent curled gently through the air, not demanding, only honest. Stop yourself from what? Elian asked softly. Raiden met his gaze, and for a heartbeat the world held still. From wanting what I have no right to claim. Elian's heart ached and soared. He understood then that Raiden's restraint was not rejection but fear. And that loving an alpha like Raiden would never be simple, but it would be worth everything. Chapter 4. Kayla's Suspicion. Prince Kayla of Valinor had always watched more than he spoke. Where Elian moved through the world with open kindness, Kayla measured it, counted glances, weighed intentions, remembered slights others dismissed. As heir and protector of Valinor's future, suspicion was not merely habit, it was duty. And lately, his attention had settled firmly on Raiden of Atherin. Kayla observed him from the upper gallery of the training grounds as Raiden sparred, movements controlled, power carefully restrained. A dominant alpha, now. one who hid his strength behind discipline. Dangerous, Kayla thought, especially for an Omega like Elian. That evening, Kayla summoned his younger brother to his chambers. Elian entered with a polite smile. "You wanted to see me?" Kayla closed the door himself. "Say it." The tone alone made Elian wary. "You've been spending a great deal of time with Prince Raiden," Kayla said, folding his arms. "Far more than is appropriate." Elian straightened. "He's my friend." Kayla's eyes hardened. "He is the heir of a weak kingdom living under Valinor's protection. Do you truly believe that closeness is without motive?" Elian frowned. "Raiden has never treated me as anything but an equal." "That is precisely my concern," Kayla replied sharply. "Alphas do not forget power, nor do kingdoms." He stepped closer, voice lowering. "Atherin survives because Valinor allows it, and now its prince is an alpha with ambition written all over him." Elian's hands curled in his lap. "You're wrong about him." Kayla sighed, frustration flickering across his face. "Elian, you are Valinor's most valuable Omega. Your beauty, your bloodline. These are not personal things. They are assets." The word stung. "Raiden looks at you," Kayla continued, "and I see hunger, not just desire, but need. Alphas from lesser kingdoms should not be allowed to desire what they cannot provide for." Elian rose to his feet. "He has never touched me, never pressured me, never treated me like something to be taken." "That doesn't mean he won't," Kayla snapped, "or that his kingdom won't benefit from it." Silence fell between them. Elian's voice was calm, but resolute. "If you see ambition in him, then see it as strength, not threat. Raiden doesn't stay because Atherin is weak. He stays because he cares." Kayla studied his brother, seeing not a naive Omega, but someone already deeply attached. "Be careful," Kayla said finally. "Kindness can be mistaken for permission, and alphas rarely stop once they believe something belongs to them." Elian held his gaze. "Raiden doesn't believe I belong to him." Kayla turned away, jaw tight. That was what frightened him most. Because if Raiden ever decided he did, Valinor might not be strong enough to stop him. Chapter 5. The First Spark of Jealousy. The royal gathering glittered with gold and silk, laughter echoing beneath vaulted ceilings as nobles from allied kingdoms filled Valinor's grand hall. Music drifted through the air, soft and calculated, meant to soothe egos and hide ambition. Elian stood at the center of it all, dressed in pale ceremonial robes that clung delicately to his frame. He looked almost unreal beneath the chandeliers. His Omega scent was carefully suppressed, yet it still lingered, subtle, warm, inviting. Heads turned as he moved. Conversations faltered. Raiden watched from the edge of the hall, his jaw tightening with every step Elian took. He had attended gatherings before, had endured the stares and whispers, but tonight was different. Tonight, Elian's maturity had drawn sharper attention. Powerful alphas, heirs, generals, future kings, circled closer, eyes gleaming with interest they made no effort to hide. One of them finally stepped forward. Lord Theron of Caris, broad-shouldered and confident, bowed deeply before Elian. "Prince Elian," he said smoothly, "you honor this gathering merely by standing in it." Elian smiled politely. "You're too kind, my lord." Theron lingered. "Too close." His voice dropped, scented faintly with alpha dominance. "Have you danced yet?" Across the room, Raiden felt something snap. His vision sharpened, instincts roaring awake. That alpha's presence near Elian felt like a threat, unacceptable, intolerable. His hands clenched, muscles coiling as though preparing for a fight that reason barely restrained. "Move away from him." Raiden crossed the hall before he could stop himself. "Elian?" His voice cut through the music, low and unmistakable. Elian turned, relief flickering across his face when he saw him. "Raiden," Elian said softly. Theron straightened, clearly displeased by the interruption. "I was speaking with the prince." Raiden's gaze never left Elian. "So was I." The air between the two alphas thickened, dominance pressing hard enough that nearby nobles stepped back. Raiden forced himself to breathe, to temper his pheromones, but the message was clear. "Mine." Elian sensed it too, eyes widening slightly. He stepped closer to Raiden without thinking, placing himself firmly at his side. "I've already promised this dance," Elian said gently, though no promise had been made. Theron studied Raiden for a long moment, then scoffed. "Careful, Alpha of Aetherin. Valinor's jewels are not meant for lesser crowns." Raiden leaned closer, voice quiet and lethal. "Jewels don't choose their thieves. People choose who they stand beside." Theron laughed once, sharp and dismissive, before turning away. Only when he was gone did Raiden realize his hands were shaking. "I'm sorry," he muttered. "I shouldn't have." Elian touched his arm, grounding him instantly. "Thank you." Raiden looked at him, startled. "For what?" "For seeing me," Elian said. "Not as something to be admired, but as someone worth standing up for." Raiden's chest tightened painfully. In that moment, surrounded by silk and ambition, he understood the truth he could no longer deny. He did not simply want Elian. He wanted to shield him from the world. He wanted to stand between Elian and every greedy hand. He wanted to claim him, not with force, but with devotion strong enough to make others step back. And the realization terrified him. Because wanting an Omega like Elian meant wanting a future Raiden had no right to promise, yet no strength left to refuse. Chapter 6. The Rise of King Raiden. The summons from Aetherin arrived sealed in black wax. Raiden knew what it meant before he broke it. His father was dead. The journey home was long and silent, the roads familiar yet heavy with finality. Gone were the polished halls of Valinor, the safety of its strength, the quiet presence of Elian at his side. Aetherin greeted him instead with stone walls scarred by age and banners faded by too many seasons of struggle. The coronation was simple. No great celebration, no excess. Just a crown placed upon his head, and the weight of an entire kingdom settling onto his shoulders. "Long live King Raiden of Aetherin." The words echoed through the hall, and for the first time in his life, no one looked past him. From the moment he took the throne, Raiden ruled with ruthless clarity. He strengthened the army, drilling soldiers until discipline replaced desperation. He reformed trade laws, broke corrupt noble houses, and forged alliances through strength rather than pleading. Borders were reinforced, taxes redistributed, old generals replaced. Some called him cruel, others called him brilliant. Raiden did not care what they called him, as long as they feared Aetherin enough to respect it. At night, when the crown lay heavy on the table beside him, his thoughts returned to Elian, to the memory of silk sleeves brushing his wrist, to the way Elian's voice softened when he said his name, to the gathering where Raiden had almost lost control simply because another alpha had stood too close. Never again, he swore. Never again would he be the prince of a weak kingdom, forced to watch from the shadows while others reached for what he loved. Years passed. Under King Raiden's rule, Aetherin rose. Victories followed one another, first defensive, then decisive. Former rivals bent the knee, or withdrew entirely. Where Aetherin had once relied on Valinor's protection, now Valinor watched its borders with unease. With strength came distance. Letters to Valinor went unanswered. Invitations were declined. Rumors reached Raiden instead, of Valinor's faltering trade, of unrest among its nobles, of a beautiful Omega prince increasingly guarded and increasingly valuable. Raiden stood on the battlements one night, wind tugging at his cloak, staring toward the horizon that separated him from Elian. "I will not be looked down upon again," he said to the dark, "and I will not ask for what I intend to protect." The king of Aetherin had risen from weakness through fire and will, and somewhere beyond enemy borders stood the Omega who had unknowingly become both his anchor and his greatest vulnerability. Chapter 7. Refused at the gates. The letter bore the seal of Aetherin, pressed deep and unmistakable. It arrived at the gates of Valinor beneath a white banner of truce, carried by 3 mounted envoys in ceremonial cloak. The message was clear, written in King Raiden's own hand. Formal, respectful, and restrained. A request for audience. A proposal for peace. And unspoken yet unmistakable, a desire for Prince Elian. In the solar of Valinor's palace, King Olion read the letter once, then again. His expression did not change. "Refuse it," he said calmly. The advisor across from him hesitated. "Your Majesty, Aetherin's power has grown. An audience alone." "I will not meet him," Olion interrupted. "Nor will I entertain any notion of alliance through my son." The words settled like stone. "He was once a guest beneath our protection," Olion continued coldly. "Now he believes strength grants him entitlement." Outside those walls, Raiden waited. He had come himself, stopping at the outer gates as tradition demanded, crown visible, sword sheathed, every gesture signaling peace. He stood tall beneath Valinor's towering walls, memories of boyhood echoing faintly in the stone. This was where he had studied, laughed, fallen in love. Hours passed. Finally, a messenger emerged. "His Majesty King Ulthian declines your request," the man said stiffly. "Valinor recognizes no need for negotiation." Raiden's jaw tightened. "And Prince Elian?" The messenger hesitated, then looked away. "The prince is unavailable." That word struck harder than any blade. Raiden inhaled slowly, forcing his alpha instincts down. This was not a battlefield. Not yet. "Tell your king," Raiden said evenly, "that I came seeking peace." The messenger nodded and retreated. From a high balcony unseen, Elian watched the exchange, fingers clenched around cold stone. He had been forbidden from going down, forbidden even from speaking Raiden's name, but he knew. He always knew. Raiden turned away from the gates without looking back. If Valinor would not meet him as an ally, if it would not acknowledge Elian's choice, then the next time he came it would not be with letters or banners. And King Olion, watching from his throne room, felt a chill he refused to name, as though he had just closed a door that might never open again. Chapter 8. Enemies by crown, lovers in secret. War was never declared. It crept in quietly, through closed trade routes, broken treaties, and borders reinforced with steel instead of words. Where Valinor had once stood unchallenged, its influence now faltered. Where Aetherin had once bowed, it now advanced. The balance had shifted. Courtiers whispered it openly now. King Raiden of Aetherin was a threat. Elian felt it in the tightening rules around him. Guards followed at a distance, no longer subtle. His schedule was rewritten daily. Letters from neighboring kingdoms arrived thick with veiled proposals, all circling the same truth. Valinor was weakening, and its most beautiful Omega had become leverage. And Raiden was forbidden. King Olion's decree was absolute. Elian was not to meet the king of Aetherin, not to write to him, not even to speak his name. To do so, Olion warned, would be seen as betrayal. But love had never cared much for decrees. They met beyond the old southern wall, where Valinor's territory thinned into forest and stone. It was a place they had known as students, a half-ruined watchtower swallowed by ivy, forgotten by time and patrols alike. Raiden arrived first, Cloak dark, crown absent, sword strapped across his back. He looked older now, harder. Power clung to him like a second skin. When Elyon appeared, breathless and cloaked, Raiden's restraint shattered. He crossed the space between them in 2 strides, hands gripping Elyon's arms as if to make sure he was real. "You shouldn't be here," Raiden said, voice low and urgent. Elyon smiled faintly. "Neither should you." The moment they were close, the world fell away. Elyon's scent, soft, familiar, wrapped around Raiden's senses, igniting instincts he barely kept leashed. He pressed his forehead to Elyon's, breathing him in, grounding himself. "I tried to meet your father," Raiden murmured. "I know," Elyon whispered. "He refuses even to hear your name." Anger flashed through Raiden's eyes, sharp and dangerous. "He would rather turn us into enemies than let you choose." Elyon's fingers tightened in Raiden's cloak. "Then let us choose anyway." They spoke in hushed voices, sharing stolen moments like treasures. Raiden told Elyon of Atheron's rise, of victories won, borders held, respect finally earned. Elyon spoke of Valinor's strain, of nobles growing restless, of a future being planned for him without his consent. Each confession drew them closer. "This is dangerous," Elyon said quietly, though he did not step back. "If we're caught, I burn the world before I let them touch you," Raiden said without hesitation. The words were not a threat, they were a promise. Elyon looked up at him, eyes shining with both fear and certainty. "I don't need you to save me," he said. "I just need you to choose me." Raiden cupped his face then, reverent, controlled, his thumb brushing Elyon's cheek as though he was something sacred. "I chose you the moment you looked at me like I mattered," he said. "Crowns didn't change that. Borders won't either." They did not kiss. They did not need to. When they finally parted, it was with reluctance heavy enough to ache. Elyon vanished back into the shadows of Valinor. Raiden watched until he was gone. Behind them, kingdoms continued their slow march toward conflict. But in the ruins between enemy lands, love still survived, quiet, defiant, and already being hunted. Chapter 9. Seen and Betrayed. Kayla had not intended to follow Elyon. At least, that was what he told himself as he dismissed the guards and slipped into the narrow passage that led beyond the southern wall. Duty had taught him to listen to patterns, to notice when schedules shifted, when excuses repeated, when an Omega who had once moved freely now found reasons to disappear. Elyon had been restless for days. That alone was enough. Kayla kept to the shadows as he followed the familiar path into the forest, every instinct sharp with unease. He knew this place. The ruined watchtower had once been a student haunt, abandoned, forgotten, unwatched. He reached the edge of the clearing just as a low voice carried through the air. "You shouldn't have come alone." Kayla froze. He knew that voice. From behind the cover of stone and ivy, Kayla saw them. Elyon stood close to Raiden, far too close. Raiden's hands rested on Elyon's arms, protective, intimate. The sight struck like a blade to Kayla's chest, not because of affection, but because of what it meant. An Alpha King, an Omega Prince, enemies by crown. Raiden leaned his forehead to Elyon's, eyes closed as if in prayer. The intimacy of the gesture made Kayla's blood run cold. So this is how it ends, he thought. With Valinor's greatest asset slipping through our fingers. Kayla did not reveal himself. He did not interrupt. He watched until Elyon slipped away into the forest, cloaked and unaware, and Raiden vanished in the opposite direction like a shadow given form. Only then did Kayla move. By the time Elyon returned to the palace, Kayla was already standing before King Aldian. "They are meeting in secret," Kayla said without preamble. Alyon's eyes narrowed. "Who?" "Prince Elyon and King Raiden of Atherin." Silence fell heavy in the council chamber. They met beyond the southern wall, Kaler continued. Intimately, this is no childish attachment. Raiden intends to claim him. Alien rose slowly from his throne. I forbade this, and they defied you, Kaler said grimly. Worse, Raiden is powerful now. If this continues, he will not ask again. He will take. Alien's jaw clenched. Kaler took a breath, then delivered the blow he had already decided upon. Alien's marriage must be arranged immediately, before Raiden can bind him, before an Alpha King claims Valinor's Omega and turns us into a vassal by marriage or force. Alien turned away, pacing. Pride warred with fear across his face. You believe this will stop him? Alien asked. It will force his hand, Kaler replied, and expose his true intentions. If Raiden cares only for power, he will retreat. If he does not, then we will know exactly what kind of enemy we face. The king stopped. So be it, Altheon said coldly. Prepare the arrangements. Elian will marry. Kaler bowed. Chapter 10. A marriage decided without mercy. The decision was made before Elian was ever summoned. In the council chamber of Valinor, maps lay spread across the long table. Trade routes marked in red, borders circled in black. Nobles spoke in careful voices, each word weighed against fear. At the center of it all stood King Alyan. Hands braced against the polished wood, his face carved from resolve. Aetherin grows stronger by the day, one lord said. King Raiden commands loyalty and fear, and Elian commands attention, another added quietly. Every court watches him. Alien straightened. Enough. He knew what they were circling. They always circled the same thing. My son will marry, Alien declared. Soon. The room stilled. An alliance, Omega, a noble murmured. That would stabilize. It will secure Valinor, Alien cut in. Before Raiden of Aetherin believes himself entitled to more. No one argued after that. By the time Elian was called to his father's solar, the palace was already moving around him like a machine set in motion. Servants hurried past, carrying bolts of silk. Tailors whispered measurements. Florists discussed arrangements meant for celebration, not surrender. Elian noticed everything. He stood before his father, hands folded tightly in his sleeves. You wanted to see me? King Altheon did not invite him to sit. You will be married within the month, Altheon said. The words landed with a hollow finality. Elian stared at him. Married? To whom? That is not your concern. Elian's breath caught. You cannot mean this. I never agreed. Elian's eyes hardened. You are an Omega Prince of Valinor. Agreement is not required when the kingdom is at stake. Elian stepped forward, voice trembling but clear. This is because of Raiden. Altheon did not deny it. King Raiden is an enemy, Altheon said. And you, your beauty, your bond, are weapons he would gladly use. I am not a weapon, Elian said, tears burning. I am your son. Altheon turned away. You are Valinor's future. The audience was over. When Elian returned to his chambers, the transformation was complete. Wedding fabrics lay draped across his bed, ivory, gold-threaded, ceremonial. Jewelers waited with trays of adornments. His attendants bowed and smiled as if this were joy. Elian felt sick. Please, he said quietly. Leave me. They hesitated only a moment before obeying. Left alone, Elian sank onto the edge of the bed, staring at the garments meant to bind him to a life he had never chosen. His thoughts went, as they always did, to Raiden, standing tall beneath Valinor's walls, turned away without a word. He clenched his fists. Somewhere down the corridor, he heard guards take position. The lock slid into place with a soft, final sound. Far away in Aetherin, King Raiden felt the unease in his bones sharpen into certainty. Something had been taken from him. And this time, it had been done without mercy. Chapter 10. A marriage decided without mercy. The palace of Valinor did not wait for Elaine's answer. It moved without him, corridors filling with hushed urgency, servants carrying bolts of ivory silk, gold-threaded sashes, ceremonial jewels brought out of locked vault. The air itself felt different, heavy with inevitability. Elian understood before anyone spoke. Still, he went to his father. King Alian's solar was filled with counselors when Elian arrived. Maps lay spread across the table, red ink marking strained borders, black seals pressed beside foreign names. Alliances. Bargains. Survival. Elian stood straight, his heart pounding. Father. The room fell silent. Elian dismissed the council with a single raised hand. When the doors closed, the silence grew sharp enough to cut. "You will marry," Alion said without preamble. "The arrangements are already underway." Elian's breath caught. "You decided this without me. You are an Omega Prince." Alion replied coldly. "Your consent is not required when Valinor is at risk." Elian stepped forward, hands trembling. "This is because of Raiden." Alian's jaw tightened. "Raiden of Etherin is an enemy king who has grown too bold. He seeks what does not belong to him." "I belong to myself," Alian said, voice breaking but fierce. "And I will not marry anyone but him." The words struck like thunder. Alian turned sharply, fury blazing across his face. "You dare speak his name here?" "I love him," Elian said. "I always have. I won't be traded like a treaty clause. I won't be given away to soothe your fear." Alian's voice rose. "You mistake defiance for courage. Love does not protect kingdoms." Elian's eyes burned. "Neither does cruelty." For a heartbeat, father and son stared at one another, one clinging to power, the other to truth. Alian turned to the door. "Kayla Radat." Prince Kayla entered at once, his expression already guarded, as if he had known how this would end. "Your brother will remain in his chambers until the wedding," Alian said. "He is not to leave, he is not to write, he is not to meet anyone." Kayla hesitated. Just for a moment. "Kayla," Elian whispered. "Please." Kayla's jaw clenched. "I'm sorry." The guard stepped forward. Elian did not struggle as they escorted him back to his rooms, but his chest ached with every step. When the doors closed behind him, Kayla himself slid the lock into place. The sound echoed too loudly. "You're making a mistake," Elian said quietly through the door. Kayla did not answer. Inside the room, wedding garments had already been laid out, beautiful, suffocating. Elian pressed his forehead against the cold wood, tears slipping free at last. "Raiden," he whispered into the silence. Far away, across enemy borders, King Raiden felt something snap tight inside his chest, an alpha's instinct screaming that his Omega had been caged. And this time he would not wait. Chapter 12. The Alpha Who Waited in Vain. The ruins beyond Valinor's southern wall lay silent beneath a sky thick with cloud. Raiden arrived before dusk as he always did. He removed his crown and cloak, leaving them on a fallen stone where ivy had begun to reclaim the path. Here, he was not a king. Here, he was only a man waiting for the one person who made the weight of rule bearable. He listened to the wind moving through broken stone, to the distant call of birds settling for the night, to every footstep that was not Elian's. Time stretched. Elian was never late. Raiden paced once, then stilled, forcing his instincts down. Fear was useless. Panic worse. Elian knew the risks. He would come, or he would send word. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The sky darkened fully, moonlight spilling cold and pale across the clearing. Raiden's chest tightened with every passing breath. His alpha senses reached outward, searching for the familiar warmth of Elian's presence. Nothing. A sharp, unwelcome thought took root. What if they found him? Raiden clenched his fists. He had felt this before, on battlefields, moments before bloodshed, but this was worse. This was helplessness. Footsteps finally sounded. Raiden turned instantly, relief surging, only to freeze. Kayla stepped into the clearing, armored and rigid, his expression carved from stone. "Where is he?" Raiden demanded. Kayla did not bow. "You shouldn't be here," Kayla said flatly. Raiden took one step forward. "Where is Elian?" Kayla met his gaze without flinching. "Confined, protected, and no longer yours to wait for." Raiden's pulse roared in his ears. "You locked him away." "For Valinor," Kayla replied. "And to stop this madness." Raiden's voice dropped dangerously low. "Say what you came to say?" Kayla inhaled once, then delivered the words like a blade. "Elian's marriage has been finalized. The ceremony will take place soon, with another man." The world went very still. Raiden felt it then, something raw and violent tearing loose inside his chest. Images flooded his mind unbidden. Elian dressed in wedding robes, hands bound to someone else, scent marked by another alpha. "No, Amdi." His vision darkened at the edges. Pheromones flared, thick and threatening, cracking the air between them. "You're lying," Raiden said. Kayla's jaw tightened. "He will be bound before you can interfere." That was the point. Raiden didn't remember crossing the distance between them. His fist connected with Kayla's jaw with a force born of fury and instinct, sending him stumbling back against the stone wall. The sound echoed through the ruins. Sharp. Final. "You get to decide his fate," Raiden snarled. "You never did." Kayla wiped blood from his mouth, eyes blazing. "You think this is about fate? This is about survival. You are an enemy king, and Elian is too valuable to be lost to you." Raiden looked at him with something close to pity. "You've already lost him," he said coldly. "You just don't know it yet." He turned away without another word, grabbing his cloak and crown, power coiling tightly beneath his skin. As he mounted his horse, his jealousy burned white hot, not mindless, but focused. Someone else would not touch Elian. Someone else would not claim him. Someone else would not take what Raiden had chosen with his whole soul. Behind him, Kayla watched as the king of Atherin disappeared into the night, a terrible certainty settling in his gut. This was no longer a secret love to be contained. This was an alpha who had lost patience. And the next time Raiden came to Valinor, he would not come to wait. Chapter 13, Queen Seraphine's Choice. The night was quiet in Elian's chambers, too quiet. Moonlight filtered through the tall windows, silvering the wedding garments laid out like a cruel promise. Elian sat on the edge of his bed, knees drawn to his chest, his omega scent muted by despair. The lock on the door felt heavier than iron. A soft knock broke the silence. "Elian," came a gentle voice. His breath caught. "Mother?" The door opened slowly, and Queen Seraphine slipped inside, dismissing the guard with a look alone. She closed the door behind her and rested her back against it, as if holding the weight of the world at bay. Elian rose at once. "You shouldn't be here. If father finds out?" "I am your mother," Seraphine said softly. "I will always come to you." The restraint in Elian's chest shattered. Tears spilled freely as he crossed the room and clutched her hands. "They won't listen to me. I told father I would only marry Raiden. He locked me away like a criminal." Seraphine's fingers tightened around his. "Tell me everything," she said. So, Elian did. He spoke of the academy, of a lonely prince from a weaker kingdom who never looked at him with envy, only respect. Of friendship that turned into longing, of secret meetings and promises whispered between ruins. Of an alpha who waited, always waited, even when the world stood between them. When Alien finished, his voice was hoarse. "He is not a coward," he said fiercely. "Raiden will come for me. I know he will." Seraphine's eyes shimmered, not with shock but recognition. "I once said those same words," she murmured. Alien stilled. "Mother." She guided him to sit and brushed his hair back with trembling fingers. "Before your father, before duty claimed me, there was another. An alpha I loved with my whole heart." Alien stared. He had never heard this story. "I waited," Seraphine continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "I waited for him to come, to defy the world as I could not. But he never did. And so I married a king instead." Pain and regret lived in every syllable. "I will not let you live with the same unanswered hope," she said, lifting Alien's chin. "If this alpha you love is truly worthy, if his love is stronger than crowns and fear, then he will come." Alien's breath hitched. "You believe him capable of that?" "I believe love reveals truth," Seraphine replied. She turned to the writing desk and pulled out parchment and ink, her movements swift but deliberate. As she wrote, Alien watched, heart pounding with fragile hope. "If your love is true," the letter said, "do not wait. Come and take him. He is not willing. He is not free." Seraphine sealed the letter with her personal crest. "This will be dangerous," Alien whispered. She smiled sadly. "Love always is." Slipping the letter into the sleeve of her gown, Seraphine kissed Alien's forehead. "Pray, my beautiful Mega," she said. "Pray that your alpha is braver than the one I love." When she left, Alien knelt by the window, hands clasped tightly. "Please," he whispered into the night. "Come for me, Raiden." Far beyond Valinor's borders, a messenger would soon ride through darkness toward Aetherin, carrying not just a letter, but a mother's choice to defy fate itself. Chapter 14. Taken before the world. The bells of Valinor rang at dawn. Their sound rolled across the city like a verdict, solemn and inescapable. Inside the palace, servants moved with rehearsed efficiency, carrying trays of jewels and silks into Alien's chambers. No one met his eyes. Alien sat before the mirror, adorned in ceremonial robes of white and gold, ancient symbols woven into the fabric. Pearls rested at his throat, a circlet crowning his soft hair. He looked every inch the treasured Omega Prince of Valinor, and never in his life had he felt more like a sacrifice. His hands trembled as he folded them in his lap. "Please," he prayed silently, "please don't let this be the end." When they led him to the grand pavilion, the court was already gathered. Nobles and their finest foreign envoys whispering behind fans. Priests standing ready to bind fate with sacred words. At the altar waited the man chosen for him, a stranger in all but name. Alien's breath came shallow. Just as the officiant raised his staff, the air changed. A deep, thunderous sound echoed through the courtyard. Shouts followed. Steel rang against stone. The doors burst open. Gasps tore through the assembly as King Raiden of Aetherin strode in, armor gleaming darkly, his presence overwhelming. His army filled the courtyard beyond, banners snapping in the wind. But Raiden's eyes were fixed on one thing alone. Alien dot. For a heartbeat, the world disappeared. Raiden crossed the space between them without slowing, stopping just short of the altar. He swung down from his horse in one smooth motion, and knelt before Alien, not as a conqueror, but as an alpha offering everything. "I have come for you," Raiden said, his voice steady despite the storm around them. "Not as an enemy king, but as the man who loves you." The court erupted into chaos. King Alien surged to his feet. "Guards, seize him!" No one moved. Raiden rose slowly and extended his hand to Alien. "You do not belong to treaties or fear. Come with me, if it is your will." Elian's vision blurred with tears. He looked to his father, whose face was pale with fury and shock. He looked to Kayla, who stood frozen, realization dawning too late. Then Elian turned to his mother. Queen Seraphine stepped forward, her eyes shining as she removed the bracelet from her wrist, the same one she had worn since Elian's birth. She placed it gently into Elian's trembling hands. "Go," she whispered. "Be braver than I was." Elian did not hesitate again. He placed his hand in Raiden's. The moment their skin touched, a hush fell, an undeniable pull sealing what crowns could not undo. Raiden lifted Elian effortlessly onto his horse, wrapping him securely in his cloak. "This union is not yours to deny," Raiden said, his gaze never leaving Elian as he mounted behind him. "Nor his future." With that, he turned and rode out. Through stunned silence, through broken protocol, through the ruins of a marriage decided without mercy, the bells of Valinor fell silent. In Etherin, beneath open sky and unchained law, Elian stood not as a bargaining piece, but as a willing Omega. No armies watched them. No councils dictated their vows. Only choice. Raiden took Elian's hands. "I choose you," he said simply. Elian smiled through tears. "I always chose you." Their bond was sealed not by fear, but by devotion, an Alpha and Omega claiming one another freely at last. And in a kingdom born of defiance and love, their future finally began.